G'day Bifrosters. I'm just going to do a little bit of logic tonight, a little bit more logic tonight. So you might remember from the and the or and the greater than and or equal to and less than or equal to videos, this little setup we've got going. I've cut it back so that we're not doing anything after the fact here. We're just, oh we are, alright, we're just making them go up if they're greater than 0. So we're back to this one where we've taken the point position, we've taken the y value, we've checked to see if it's greater than or equal to 0, and if it is, it finds all of those, finds all the trues in there, and spits these out to do things with, including this bit of a set and array, get from array, a little bit of going upwards motion here being added on, and of course all of this is inside the solver. So my next question is, what happens if we don't want to do it to the blue things? I know that's a bit of a silly question for now, but it's going to help us do some logic, I hope. So let's just play this through. Of course, what's happening is everything above 0 is going up. Some of these are wandering above 0 and then they're being lifted. That's all good. What I've got up here is one of my little vectors equal nodes, and I'm just saying, is any of these guys coming in from the color array through a conversion to vector 3, any of these guys blue, 001, blue. Remember, we weren't using the alpha channels. Go back and watch the OR video, or half an hour of it, if you want to find out what I'm talking about. So if we wanted to do something that said, let's find all the blue ones. Now, only the blue ones lift. And you notice it doesn't matter if they're above or below 0 because we've taken this logic out of the equation. We're just saying, hey, are you blue? If you're blue, up you go. There we go. So now if I wanted to combine this, where I'm saying, actually what I want is I want everything to go up except the blues. I'm going to use our new piece of logic, which is the not. And this is really easy. What's coming out of here is an array of trues and falses. It's a Boolean array. So every time this finds blue in this color array, pumps a true into the same place in the array and puts it out. All this not is doing is reversing it. So I can show you this. We're just plugging that in. And now you see that the blues aren't moving up. Everything else is, but the blues are not. All good. Go back to here. So how about if I want to combine these? Well, this is where we just go back to our old friend and. So let's just see what this does. So what this is basically saying is that if you are greater than equal to 0 and you are not blue, up you go. So let's check this out. And there we go. So we've now left the blues where they are. That's all good. That's the bit of logic, not. So that just reverses any other bit of logic. And as you can probably tell from this short series of videos, we've been kind of building on it and building on it and building on it. So let's just see what goes on when we put an OR in there. So following the logic in your head, what you're basically saying is, we'll just plug this in. I'll just get rid of this guy. Oh, that didn't help, did it? Pop this in here. If we follow the logic in our head, we go, okay, so anything that's greater than or equal to 0 or isn't blue. Because all this is basically saying is not blue. So what do we got? So now only the blues below 0 stay still and everything else moves up. So this is a really quick and fun way to do lots of interesting things with a bunch of particles that are different colors. And as always, I can change the color to the reds and we'll just get the same results from the reds. There we go. We can also copy and paste this, pop an OR in here, hook that up, and then put the whole thing into the knot. So now we get the blues. Oh, I get the reds. Ah, they're both red, that's why. Forgot to change one over to blue again. My bad. So what we should get is just the blues and the reds below 0 staying where they are, The reason they're still moving is that everything's still got this little fractal turbulence on here just to make life a bit more interesting while we watch it. So you can see that everything that isn't blue or red is moving its way up. So that's really it. It's just not to negate things. It's going to take whatever's true and make it false, and whatever's false and make it true. We can play with some of the things in this combination here. We can try an XOR. And XOR is kind of interesting. What XOR is basically only returns true if one but not both of the inputs are true. So let's plug these guys in and see what happens. Probably not much, because I think both of these inputs are going to come through as true, but we'll see. Oh no, this one's going to come through as false occasionally. So what do we get now? You see now we get everything below 0 that isn't red or blue, plus everything above 0 that is red or blue. And we can follow the logic there by saying, okay, so what's coming out of here is true for everything that is greater than or equal to 0. So you're going to get some trues and you're going to get some falses. When you get a false in this one and a true in this one, this is going to come back true. Otherwise it's always going to be false. This gets a little convoluted, but you can work your way through it. So on this side we've got, is it blue, is it red? If it's either of those things, if it's not either of those things, so you're going to get some trues and you're going to get some falses really for everything that isn't red and isn't blue, then this goes in here. So sometimes this will be true and sometimes it'll be false. Sometimes this will be true and sometimes this will be false. What this is giving us is all of the times where one of them is true and the other one is false. It can be either one. And so what happens there is that below 0, the reds and the blues stay where they are. Above 0, only the reds and the blues move. You can see them slowing down and stopping, just retaining that little bit of fractal motion. So play with that, have some fun. I'm going to put that back into an AND, just to leave us as we found it. It's just going to be a quickie. Really we're talking about NOT rather than XOR, but XOR is a bit of fun to play with every now and again. So let's quickly run through that. We started with exactly the same rig as we had leaving the greater or equal to video, I think. I can't remember for sure. Where we've just got a bunch of points that are lifting if they're above 0. We then introduced the concept of like, I only want things to happen to points of a certain color. So that's the one where the reds are moving upwards and nothing else is. And I did that by, I just jump out of here, I did that by, this is our color array, our choose color array that we set up. And I pushed that into the solver here. I'm doing everything in the solver just to get some movement. And I converted that to a vector 3. And then I used my vector as equal to check if they were equal to these colors, which just happened to be blue and happened to be red. Those two went, if they were true, they went into an OR. If either of those are true, it goes through to a NOT, which negates whatever. So the falses become trues and the trues become falses. And the NOT goes out to an AND. And the AND gets plugged into here eventually. And we end up with a situation where our reds and our blues are moving. We can, of course, add a third color in there. We can say we want our greens to stay the same as well. And that's just a matter of providing a little more logic. So we change this one to green, like that. We put in another OR, and we just say that OR and that OR into that NOT. Now the only things moving up are going to be the orange and cyan. Everything else is just retaining its movement. Okay. From there, we just said I wanted these. You can think of this, all of this here, as one condition. It's convoluted. It's saying, is it this or this or this, but it's not those. So this is if it isn't red or blue or green. That's what all of that part of the graph tells us. We'll put a backdrop on that so you can see it. That's one condition. And then this here is the other condition. We'll put a backdrop on that as well. Just change its color. So we can differentiate the two fairly well. And this is where we control what's going on with those conditions. So we can have both of them, which is an AND. We can have either one of them, which is an OR. We can have only one, but either one, which is an XOR. And then that goes out into the find all array, which gets all the true values, finds the indices, and we put that out. We get from the array there and then add some movement to it. But we also send it straight off to the setting array. So it's adding some movement, and then it's setting the values inside this array here, which is the point position array inside the solver. Clear? Perfectly clear. Clear as mud, right? I'll since we last spoke, I managed to get myself a little bit of web hosting through big thanks to one of the guys on the forum, who I'm not sure is okay me naming him in a video, but I will say thank you because he knows who he is. And so what I will do is I will put a link to that in this video, and I will start dropping these little tutorial files that I make into that folder, and you can download them and pull them apart yourselves. Alright, well I hope that's helped, made things a little bit clearer, even though logic can get fairly convoluted. This is still logic for beginners. XOR is probably a little bit in the intermediate stage, but AND, OR, and NOT are the very, very basis of logic. You can pretty much do everything with AND, OR, and NOT. There are much more complicated things like bitwise operations and stuff like that, which we may or may not get to in time. Alright, have a good night. Thank you.